There's a difference between quitting and knowing when you're beat. When it comes to learning an instrument, the reality is that most people quit. There's no shame in admitting that something isn't working. But is that actually the reason you're quitting? At the end of this video, I want you to do something. I want you to speak for 1 continuous minute about the reasons why you want to hang up your axe. There are no wrong answers. It's a personal challenge. But before you begin, I want you to consider the following. You're not very good. Very few major guitarists got to where they are today from innate talent. They practiced every single day. Passion and perseverance are far more important factors in success than natural talent. You can operate on a fixed mindset that you'll never be as good as Eddie Van Halen, or you can operate on a growth mindset that you can and will absolutely work towards making yourself better. Life is full of inherent struggles. You can either throw in the towel and give up, or you can embrace them as part of life's rich tapestry and knuckle down. Practice is boring. You might have heard that old Greek myth about Sisyphus rolling that giant rock up the hill, only for it to roll back down every time it neared the top, to denote a pointless task. That's what practice can feel like, especially if you don't feel like you're progressing. But even a task that seems futile on the surface can be deeply meaningful. There's a reason I always recommend learning songs rather than too much theory, because they have a quantifiable end and an option of continuation. You're done when you learn the song, but you can never stop perfecting it. And if you feel unfocused, then switch up the dynamic. Deliberate practice is a highly structured activity with the explicit goal of improving your performance. 10 minutes of deliberate practice is far better than an hour staring out of a window. Work out a way of distilling your time down to its key elements and make yourself truly focus on every minute. You're not really into it. Lack of motivation is one of the biggest reasons people give up their creative pursuits. Try and remember the satisfaction that comes with doing something well, with progressing at something. Life is a journey, and the journey doesn't always have to be about the end destination. It's often tempting to take the shortcut, getting ChatGPT to write that essay for you, or using ready-made mac and cheese from a box rather than cooking it yourself. But there is so much pleasure to be gained in life from challenging yourself to improve at something. Financial constraints. I know times are tough and not everyone can afford to pay for lessons or drop thousands on a vintage Strat, but that's not really an excuse. There's a wealth of free material online, and a good guitar does not a good guitarist make. Robert Johnson and other legendary Delta bluesmen played on cheap guitars, and so can you, because if you're considering quitting guitar, you likely already have one. So ask yourself, what's the cost of giving up and what's the cost of continuing? When it comes to making progress, it'll likely cost you nothing to continue, but it'll cost you everything to quit. Obstacles and challenges. The bumps in the road to getting good at something are everywhere. You don't have time today, you're tired, you have to take the kids to their game. You can find any number of excuses not to practice. Identify what yours are and how to stop yourself feeling defeated by them. If you have evening plans straight from work, then do 10 minutes in the morning before you leave instead. Fear of failure. Plenty of mediocre players made it because they didn't know when to quit, and plenty of geniuses never even picked up that guitar because they were too scared to try. Failure's an interesting one. In exercise, we talk about training to failure, where you do the maximum number of reps you can until you can no longer perform with correct form. By pushing yourself to your limits, you come back stronger after some proper rest and recovery, which leads me to burnout and exhaustion. If you're very narrowly focused on one thing at the expense of all others, you're likely to miss out on much of what makes life enjoyable. Find your inspiration again. Take a break, go for a walk, play with your dog, see your friends. I often find I'm most inspired by watching others, so why not go to a blues bar and watch some pros go at it? I bet you'll come back reinvigorated. Not reaching your desired outcome. You might mostly be satisfied with your playing when it's going well, but when it's not, frustration creeps in. But what is frustration anyway? Adopting a mindset of never being satisfied is the key difference between success and failure. Even those playing at the highest levels have days of feeling frustrated, but do you know what they do? Keep putting one foot in front of another. Don't let yourself get derailed. There's a Lana Del Rey lyric I think about often. The road is long, we carry on, try to have fun in the meantime. Which brings me to lack of support. Practice is often lonely, but it doesn't have to be. I've always found that playing with other musicians is the best way to improve. It gives you accountability, structure, and it's fun too. Friends, teachers, mentors. These are the people who can make all the difference to your playing. Changing priorities and interests. You might feel that even with this pep talk, you still lack both talent and enthusiasm for your instrument and would really rather prefer to spend your time doing another of your pursuits, woodworking or fishing perhaps. We only have so many hours in the day after all. So if you want to quit, then go ahead and quit. All I ask is you do one thing. You set yourself a notice period. Let's call it 1 month. Approach it like you would a job. You've given your notice, but you've got to do those remaining days of practice, even if it's just for 10 minutes every day for those 30 days. See what happens. You might feel like a weight has been lifted and you start to enjoy it again and rediscover some of the reasons you took it up in the first place. And if at the end of your notice period you still want to quit, then go ahead. You will have taught yourself a valuable lesson in sticking to your goals. Okay, 1 minute. Talk to yourself about why you really want to quit. I have some big announcements coming. Sign up to my personal music newsletter. There is a link in the description below so that we can keep in touch. But as always, I'll be seeing you here again very soon.